The meeting of the Board of Education, District 208. Please stand. Silence your cell phones for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Nardi, would you take the roll?
Here.
She's here.
She's coming in now.
Oh,
Say here, Laura.
Here.
Here. Here.
here. Tonight, we're going to start with the Student Association's report. Okay.
Middle. Hey guys.
Do you want a chair?
We're excited to be back. And we're excited to have an audience this time. This is fun. Hello everybody. My name is Amanda. I am the president of the exec board of SA.
I'm Madison. I'm the vice president.
I'm Mary. I'm the treasurer.
Yes, and we have been very busy, so we have a few things to talk to you guys about. Madison, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So last time we saw you guys, it was the day before the blood drive. We had our second blood drive of the year on February 22nd, and we had a total of 61 pints. And each pint saves 3 lives, so that was a total of 183 people that we were able to help out. And we're planning a third blood drive soon. We're probably going to do the trucks, so it'll be less people donating. But since it's at the end of the year, we just want to keep it small. Yeah.
All right, and we just recently had a food drive. So from March 7th to March 18th, we had a food drive with St. Leonard's Church in Berwyn, where RB students can help donate some non-perishable food items to help the community. And last Friday, some exec board members and SA members as well went and delivered the items, and they were super thankful, super appreciative, and it was really awesome to see that. And this is the second year we've worked with them, and really hope to keep doing that in future years.
Yes.
And then there's currently a Sarah's In Drive happening right now, and that is an organization that goes to help women and children of domestic violence. AST and Girl Up are the 2 clubs that are sponsoring this drive. They've been collecting items for the past week and a half, and I think they're going for a little bit longer. Until Monday, April 4th. So we have a while, and
Yes.
a lot of other students have helped participate, and we've also purchased some items for that drive as well.
Yes, we split our food drive. We put most of our food also towards Sarah's In Drive as well. Last week, we had Best Buddies Inclusion Week, which was exciting. We have the Best Buddies president with us somewhere. Gianna, if you want to say hi. Yes. So she was kind of the face behind that. We do this every single year. The mission of the week is to spread inclusion and friendship. Monday was Flannel Day, signifying the warmth of friendship. Tuesday was Mismatch Day to celebrate all of our differences. Wednesday was Hat Day to put a cap on exclusion. Thursday was Green and White Day to recognize our cultural celebrations, aka St. Patrick's Day. And then Friday was Bright Colors Day to stand out in the crowd. And then last Friday, AST and Best Buddies held a discussion on the importance of inclusion. To make sure that we could get the word out about the week, we publicized it as much as we could, and we decided to make last Friday our official Spirit Friday of the month of March. And so we had 6-hour teachers. They reported the percentages of students that participated. So our 2 winners were Miss Stahl's 6th period and Miss Young's 6th period. So congratulations to those classes. Those students got candy, which is always exciting. And next, this is upcoming, it's Pop Tops. We do this annually. It is a collection of the Pop Tops, and the proceeds will go to the Ronald McDonald's House. For SA, we like to take that as a big trip to when we drop off the Pop Tops, then we get to go inside. Sometimes we get to bake cookies. Hopefully we'll get to do that this year. That's always so fun, seeing all of our different members, and Miss Yola, Miss Kaler, just go to work in the kitchen. And then we also get a tour of the Ronald McDonald's House, and if you haven't been there, it is incredible. And we're excited for that. We're also going to be we like to do every single year, we keep track of who turns them in, so we're going to have the top 3 people in each grade. They're going to get prizes, but also we're going to make it classes competition, if that makes sense. So each day, or once a week if we can. We're gonna get the weights in and be like, oh, seniors are winning. So hopefully we can get a little bit more participation in that.
And then Spirit Week, so the week before prom, or the Friday of prom from April 25th to 28th, we will be having a Spirit Week again. So after kind of having all the success from the week before homecoming, we're really excited to do this again. And we're thinking of themes already, like crazy blue and white and tie-dye, and also voting with the school on some more possible themes. And although prom is only for the upperclassmen, we're really going to publicize this week, so to get everyone really involved and to increase the school spirits.
Yes. And for that week, we're going to be sending out a form school-wide to ask what days students have to try and get our participation a little bit higher, because right now it's been lacking a little bit. I think it's just like third quarter was ending, everyone's stressed out, they're just waiting to get to spring break. So we're hoping that when we get back from spring break, everyone's going to be excited again, have something to look forward to, and get our participation back up. And tomorrow is the start of specifically Student Association. We will be having we start the process for officer elections, class officers. It's pretty simple. They just get a packet, they can choose what they're running for. They fill out a few questions, and you need 50 signatures. When you hear that as a freshman, maybe you're scared or something, but it's really easy. That's like 2 classes, just like, hey guys, please sign my packet. For the executive board, it's a little bit more serious for our positions. You have someone nominate you, it can be anyone, and you just need someone to second that nomination. So if I was running, Madison could nominate me, and then Mary would just have to second that. Those also come with a packet that they can fill out a few questions for us to see. On Wednesday, April 27th, we will send out our the online voting document to all students so they can vote on that as well. And we're really excited, and we wish all the students the best of luck who are running for positions. And I think that's all we got for you guys today. I know it was a lot, and we went through it pretty quick. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't. Any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Always for your
Thank you.
enthusiasm.
For your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to recognitions, Dr.
Ready,
Freitas.
Dr. Freitas? You got a full house.
I am ready.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, honorable board members. It's always my favorite part of the meeting where we get to recognize our Bulldogs, our stars. We're going to begin by recognizing our 3 national merit finalists. When I call your name, please step up. Ethan DeMano, Grant Gallier, and Caroline Marrero. Please come on.
Congratulations to all of you. Do you want to stay up here for our pictures?
Stay up here. Don't run away.
Exactly, you go. Who's going to take us a picture? Who's going to take a picture? We need a picture.
A lot of volunteers. Here we go. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Elena.
Jeez.
I share with you.
And Bob. Thank you,
All right,
Bob.
let's hear it for our national merit.
Our next group up are Scotty Award recipients. Sophie Susionis and Olivia Buccio are among the 100 school citizens of the year. Sophie and Olivia are being recognized for their commitment to their own academic success, as well as their positive contribution to our school. Can we welcome Sophie and Olivia?
Come on out, take a picture with Dr. Freitas.
I got you.
And
All right.
congratulations,
Congratulations.
ladies.
Okay, next up, I would like to invite the cheerleading team. The Riverside Brookfield cheerleading team placed 18th at the IHSA state finals. This is their best state finish since 2014. This team is made up of athletes from our varsity and junior varsity squads. This season, they won conference for the 4th year in a row, placed 4th in sectional, and placed 18th in state, and many of them are also involved in other sports and other clubs. So can we give it up for Coach Hart? All right, the wrestling team. Hold on. The 2020 Riverside Brookfield wrestling team captured the regional championship with all 14 wrestlers placing in the top 3 of their respective weight classes and all 14 individuals advancing to the Illinois sectional tournament. The team then advanced to the IHSA Dual Team State Tournament with a sectional win over St. Ignatius. The team was led by the senior class who had a remarkable run of 3 regional championships and 2 trips to the Dual State Elite 8. When I call you, please come on up. The state dual roster: Matt DeCosola, Matt, Chase Morrell, Edwin Mosquera, Contavious Morrell, Mateo Costello, Ben Lupford, Josh Gonzalez, Ethan Rivas, Jacob Godoy, Michael Raganelli, Jacob Noah, Bill Martin, Brandon Teo, Julian Espinosa, Ethan Raff, Brock Hoy, Liam Cote, Jasiel Escobar, Thurman Gibbons, Joe Madonna, Deshaun Jackson, Devontae Gibbons, and of course Coach Kirby and Coach Lomas. Come on up.
Sitting behind.
All right.
We're not wrestling here.
Good job, gentlemen. Coach Kirby, we just want to congratulate. Every year you have grown that program and the number of students that are participating. So thank you to yourself and Coach Lomatch for growing and getting the boys involved. And we had girls wrestlers this year as well, several girls wrestlers. So thank you again for all that you're doing.
Yeah, folks. I do want to recognize Eleanor Faye as RB's first girl to qualify for the state tournament in history. So Eleanor Faye. Let's give it up for Eleanor. All right, boys basketball. JP Hanley had a tremendous career at RB. His team won 2 conference championships, 2 regional championships, had a 56-19 record during his 3 years on varsity. JP averaged 17 points and 7 rebounds per game as a senior and would have been a 1,000-point career scorer if he didn't lose out on the close to 25 games due to COVID. He finished with 897 career points. In addition to JP's All-State recognition, he has been named All-Conference twice and Suburban Life All-Area twice. JP is the last of 5 brothers who have been competing in the RB basketball program since 2006. Let's give it up for JP and Chris.
Congratulations, JP.
Thank you. Let's take a picture. Let's take a picture.
Congratulations, JP.
For boys swim, I would like to invite Drew Rosa to come on up. Drew had a great sophomore season this year. He was conference champion in the 200 individual medley. He also qualified for the 200 meter individual medley and placed 25th at the state in the new sophomore and has a new sophomore school record. Drew also always is part of 2 sophomore relay records of the 200 medley and 200 free relay coached by Mike Lowers. Congratulations. And there's one more swimmer. I don't see him here. I don't think he could have made. There was a conflict, but we did have our state champion. I know, folks, we give him a parade, we give him a send-off. I know everybody has seen him right on social media or in person, but I do want to recognize Harrison Nolan. Harrison, you're in the hallway, Harrison. But our state champion, broke the diving record. So guys, let's give it up for Harrison Nolan. That concludes recognitions.
You all right, Dr. Fresh? You need a breath?
Thank you, Dr. Freitas, and congratulations again to everyone.
Parents, unless you want to stay for the meeting, this might be a time if you want to sneak out. You can sneak out. You're welcome to stay.
Did you do the match today?
Yeah. Okay. We had to try, so we played twice as much as we normally do. And they're still going.
Okay, yeah, I saw the buses.
Drew didn't shave his head.
No, they didn't shave this year. They bleached, and he's now dyed it back, too.
Yeah. But I think Matt bleached and He didn't shave his, oh yeah, he shaved his head. Well, they bleach for like regionals and they shave their heads or whatever. And none of them shaved it really. And then shaved his whole body. And I remember shaving my whole body when I was swimming. Too much information?
It's okay, I'm just, remember we're on mic.
Yeah. Well, we got a contact. Hopefully we're doing it together.
Thank you, everyone. I don't believe we have anyone left for visitor statements now that the wrestling team and the national merit finalists have left us. So unless someone sees otherwise, we're going to move on the agenda. Discussion information items. Does anyone have one for anything for this evening? Looking to my left. Nope. Looking to my right. Okay. Additional discussion items. I was kind of combining those two items. So anything additional to discuss later on today's agenda? They're the same, what you asked, right? Well, sometimes we have a subsets under discussion information items. We don't have anything on tonight's agenda. So I am now merging them together, yes. Moving on, I don't have any reports this evening, so Dr. Skinkis, you are up.
General Superintendent report. District update, collective negotiations are ongoing. The district and the RBA have completed 3 sessions of interest-based bargaining. The staffing process for the 22-23 school year has been completed. The board approved the classes that they needed to approve at the last meeting, so the following steps are for the building administration to begin developing the master schedule, teacher assignments, and hiring and recalling certified staff for vacancies. This process will take most of fourth quarter and a little bit into the summer. Dr. Smetana will begin the development of the budget for FY23. The district updated its COVID-19 mitigations and officially went to mask recommended on February 28th with the transition going very well. We currently have had only 1 case reported so far in the month of March. Knock on wood. Superintendent advisory councils. No updates except for policy advisory. I shared a draft of board policy 2:40 with the advisory council. I did receive a little bit of feedback that we can discuss tonight when we go through that policy. The language matches several other high schools with a similar format, and is all I have to report from the superintendent tonight.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone? Seeing none, I think we can move on to Dr. Smetana.
Good evening. The reports tonight will provide the Board of Education with information for financials for the month of February, or through the month of February, which represents 67% of the fiscal year. Beginning on Board Book page 10, you'll see the monthly summary report. Total operating revenue for the month was $3,667,101, with 90% of that coming from property tax, 5% coming from evidence-based funding, which is our state funding, and then 3% coming from federal and state reimbursements. Total operating expenditures for the month were $1,902,207, with 82% towards salary and benefits, and then 4% each for operations and maintenance, special education tuition, and purchase services. The next page is the monthly financial statements. The first page in that report are the fund balances, which show that currently the district has a small surplus in its operating funds from this fiscal year, but that's going to constantly fluctuate as we're going to be receiving more property tax in the month of March, and then we'll be spending down that money for the remainder of the fiscal year. The summary of revenues shows that the district has received 65% of our budgeted revenue for the year. This amount is higher than this time higher than last year due to collecting property tax a little bit sooner than we did last year. So to date, the district has received 61% of the budgeted property tax. That includes fall and spring collections. The amount that we are looking to still receive is $8,323,952. And again, we'll receive a majority of that in March. But if you're just looking at the fall collection, which is based off of the previous year's levy, we've received 99% of what is budgeted for. So that indicates that so far we're on track with what we've budgeted for in terms of property tax.
The summary of expenditures shows that the district has spent 64% of our budgeted expenditures, and this is really similar to this time last year. And then always for your information, I've included the statement of revenue and expenditures for board accounts as well as for our activity accounts. I have 2 additional informational items that I wanted to share with the board. In the upcoming months, the administration will go out to bid for transportation. This is for field trips and extracurriculars. I don't anticipate this process being, the greatest time to go out to bid, but unfortunately our contract is up June 30th. So once the process is complete, it'll be brought to the board for approval, and you'll see all of the bids that came in. And then lastly, the school maintenance grant that the district applied for in February was approved. The administration is looking to purchase the bathroom partitions through a purchasing cooperative, which satisfies the bidding process. And this will likely appear probably more likely on the May board bills. Are there any questions?
Dr. Smetana, in regards to the transportation, last time we bid this out, I think it may have been prior to your transition into that role, I think we had 2 people show up to the bid meeting and only 1 submit the bid, or was it 3 companies show up to the bid meeting and only 2 submit the bid?
It was prior to me being in this role. I believe there was only 1 person that actually submitted a bid. I don't know how many people showed up. But for transportation, you need to follow the bidding process, but you are not tied to only going with the lowest bidder. There's several other things that you can look at. However, since we do not have bus service during the school day, it's my understanding that not many bus companies are interested in picking up just the extracurricular piece after school. And on top of that, you have a bus driver shortage, you have gas increasing, and so all of those things also make it difficult for companies to be able to commit to getting here before 3 o'clock, which is certainly one of the needs that we have for many of our activity programs.
So the reason you answered my questions, is it worth us asking and at least bringing something back to the board about doing a 1-year extension with our current transportation provider? Because we haven't even used them for every trip. We've had to find coach buses and Windy City Limousine, and we have to find multiple services, right? Does it help us out? Would it help you out if we inquired about a 1-year extension?
Certainly, I would have to check with the district's legal counsel to see if we were permitted to do that.
Okay, because I think we did something similar right now for Ladsey for the same reasons you just mentioned. But if we can't, we can't. But
yes, one of the differences maybe is that we don't. It's a little bit of a different contract because that we don't have it's like a purchase service. We're not locked into a contract. But I will certainly explore that.
Kind of on a similar vein, do we have the ability to do what I would call a piggyback contract or a comparable government procurement if there's a district that has a contract and we can leverage their purchasing power? Or is that not allowable in this space?
I don't know. I don't know of. I would need to look into that. I don't know if there would really be a bus company that would be interested in doing that, to be quite frank. But I would need to look into that in more detail.
Okay.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
I don't see us getting a lot of bids. That's why I'm asking.
No, I anticipate us getting a bid from our current vendor only, and us continuing to go with our current vendor.
Right.
In years past, I know the district has used one other vendor, and we ran into several issues with them, and they have not submitted anything since that experience, is my understanding.
Okay.
How has COVID impacted the busing in schools? Like for a year or so, schools weren't having kids come in, so they weren't busing, right?
Correct.
Did that like downsize the local busing companies and now?
Cause a significant shortage of drivers.
Okay, now that we're gearing up again and.
Many of those
They're
drivers
not
have
coming
moved
back.
on to
It is
different
not
jobs.
bounced back.
They're not coming back.
So I should retire and become a bus driver?
Yes.
Yes.
You can
And
work 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon.
Sweet.
We did a extension through LADSI, like you said, it was it's a cooperative, we're doing day routes, but bus companies know what's going on as well.
Yeah.
Do we think that's going to be a significant budget deviance at the end of the year then?
I don't
And what
believe
we've
so at the
ultimately
end of the
spent.
year because our special education transportation will come in under budget. So if our athletics goes over, the total amount should be
Offset.
okay.
Okay.
Do your best.
We'll try.
Any more comments, questions from anyone? Moving on, I think Dr. Freitas.
Good evening, board members. Here's my principal's report under teaching and learning academics. Excuse me. In mid-February, our juniors took a practice SAT test. 49% of the juniors met the evidence-based reading and writing, college and career readiness standards benchmarks, and 44% met the math benchmark according to ISB's metrics. Next month, we have the real deal, the SAT is coming up Wednesday, April 13th. The freshman and sophomore will be taking the PSAT, and the junior will be taking the SAT. Seniors will have a college and career day, and the next day is a regular school day for all students, and they will be testing for day 2 testers. Spring culture, school culture and operations. Spring break runs from Monday, March 28th through Friday, April 1st. School resumes on Monday, April 4th. Here's a mental health days update, and these are last week's numbers. Total number of students, 220. 164 students have taken 1 day, 47 2 days, 4 have taken 3 days, 3 4, and 2 5. Our average daily attendance today is approximately 93%. And there was one question inquiring about mental illnesses and absences and any correlation. From initially looking at the data, students that missed in previous years due to a general illness have missed just as many days as before, except that now it is documented as a mental health day. This is helpful because this kind of helps us, talk with students and we know better and understand the problem. What's new is that students use a mental health day period and finding out the reasons, right? This year, right, there's some students that have used it for the first time. So this is, I consider this a baseline year, right? We're really learning, discovering the patterns so we can plan for the future. Activities and athletics. The NHS induction ceremony is tomorrow, Wednesday, March 30th from 8 to 9 here in the auditorium. Coffee with the principal for parents will be Tuesday, April 5th from 7 to 8 via Zoom. Jazzapalooza, 7 to 9 p.m. at the auditorium. What I Wish I Had Known, college and question answer, Thursday, April 7th, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in the auditorium. Prom, we're back to a quote-unquote traditional prom, where a student will be able to invite friends, boyfriend, girlfriends, whoever, from other schools. Prom will be held on Friday, April 29th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Old Brook Hills Hilton Resort. Spring sports have begun. All community members, family, friends are welcome. Masks are recommended but not required. And that is my principal's report.
Do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I guess looking at the 93% attendance rate, that's likely down from what would have been in
It is
let's say
tradition.
the spring of 2019 is the last time we've
Traditionally, we've hovered around 95, 95 and a half,
Right.
always aiming towards 96. We are down.
Okay, so I guess my question was gearing toward, do we understand, without names at all being of concern, are we seeing any regularity with the students who are using mental health days? Are they swapping one for another, an illness day for a mental health day? Is it a new trend? Is it, and as you said, I think being able to have it documented as a mental health day or a mental wellness day, there can be some follow-up to check in with the student, but has there been any success in gaining any information from students as to why they're taking those, and if we are able to add support in the social work or any other form?
Sure, and our follow-ups with mental health days with the students and their families, we've learned that there are students that are getting outside help. We learned through our conversation that students are getting inside help. We're really learning what's going on, right? We're learning more about anxiety and depression and isolation and really engaging. So it's been helpful in having those conversations, learning about people's supports and what we can do here. So it's been helpful. Like I said, patterns is too early, but yeah, students now, instead of an illness, right? And it's a type of illness, right? Mental health, right? There's mental illness, right? Physical illness. So it's a little more specific. But yeah, we've seen. I mean, some of the students that have missed a few days before have missed again on their mental health day, but they're getting the support they needed. And of course, you have a few that have used it for the first time.
Okay. As information comes back about that, and I'm not, charging anyone with anything, but it'd be nice to have some understanding of how the school is going to go about addressing it, so that we are hopefully intervening on the early end of any students getting themselves into stress issues.
Was that, I think you touched on that a little bit during your MTSS, that once they get to the second mental health.
Yeah, that there would be a touching base. Yep.
Yeah, once you decide,
third,
there is a follow-up, from the school, and either we provide supports or help them get the outside supports they need, or really learn, right, about the supports they're getting and where they're at.
Sure.
The 93% average daily attendance, could that, even though that's down, are we able to, for kids staying home for COVID and for quarantining purposes?
That definitely, remember, even an excused absence still hurts you overall ADA.
Sure.
So yes, it's been, we've had students.
So students that had, does the quarantine, when we were doing quarantine, something to check with the deans. Isolation is when they had tested positive for COVID, so I'm assuming that was like medical, which would still count.
Correct.
But if the quarantine also counted, I'm wondering if they were doing remote learning, if that had to count as an absent or not. Can we follow back up with the deans on that?
Yes.
Was that 93% this semester or for the year to date?
For to date, that's 93 to date.
And it was at 94.5, and it was probably around December. It might have been January.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing with the uptick, that those quarantine days may have affected it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think with all these things, it'll be helpful to have this as a baseline and look at it from there,
Right.
I just would, it'd be important to get clarification, because if a student wasn't sick, but the health department was making them stay home to quarantine, and they were able to do remote learning, even if it was asynchronous, I'm wondering if that should be counting against us. So maybe it's not. I just would like for you to check.
Yes.
Because January, our dashboard has 132 students in January.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was across the board. So certainly if students were out a minimum of 3 days in January and up to 5 with a positive test, that would certainly put a hit on the attendance rate. So.
For sure.
Okay.
Hector, you'll check on that with the dean?
Yes.
And then are you giving the athletic report tonight?
I do. I get to continue.
Okay.
So I'm supporting one of my colleagues who couldn't make it today, and I'll be presenting the winter season summary. So I'm going to begin by saying a big thank you to all of our teachers, to all of our paraprofessionals, all of our clubs, everyone that's a coach, who really works. We have security guards that are coaches, paraprofessionals that are coaches. We have teachers, anyone that's coached. Thank you. It means a lot, because of you, all students have had more opportunities. And to really start off, we've had a 16% jump in participation. So it's really been outstanding, right? If we're for kids and student-centered, right? We want to see engagement go up. So, I'm really, really proud of just everybody, my AD Brendan, all of my admin team, and everybody that has coached. But it was an outstanding winter athletic season, as we had numerous student athletes, which we recognized earlier tonight. And we competed at the IHSA state finals for their respective sports. Here's a quick recap. There's a lot of numbers there, but our girls basketball team experienced tremendous success at the lower levels under the new leadership this season. Cheerleading won conference and finished 18th downstate, and it was real nice because in the cafeteria we streamed it, so a lot of the students got to see our cheerleaders perform downstate. It was a ride. Our gymnastics team saw multiple girls earn sectional qualifying status with a third place finish at the regionals for the team. The Pupettes earned a third place finish and will look to build on their participation numbers next year. Boys basketball earned first place finish in conference, won the IHSA regional title. Our boys swimming and diving, we placed fourth in section with a sophomore who made it downstate. And of course, we had our state champ, Harrison Nolan, and state record holder. And our wrestling team, we won regionals, we won sectionals. We sent 6 boys individually to the state finals, and we qualified for the team state, and we had a girls state qualifier. It was really a fantastic winter season and a lot of firsts for RB, and our excellence is continuing. And now here's the participation report. As I stated earlier, winter sports saw a considerable increase in participation, about 16%. Let's start off with the Puppets Pound program that incorporated JV level this past season, increasing the numbers by nearly 50%. The wrestling program also experienced a significant increase of nearly 15 participants this season. It should also be noted that girls basketball, cheerleading, boys basketball, boys swimming and dive also saw increased participation this past season. Again, it's been fantastic. You can see the number from 254 to 302. I mean, outstanding. And again, thank you to everybody, involved. And of course, the support of the board and the superintendent and district office. It's really, I feel like we're back. I don't want to say normal to, but we're almost there, And that concludes the winter athletic summer.
So, quick
Go ahead.
question, and this may be for Dr. Smetana, Dr. Skinkis. On the pay-to-participate fee collection, so these fees, where do they appear then in the budget? Like, would we see a boys swimming and dive budget add-on? And is that similar to all the activities and the student or the fees collected from activities?
On the revenue side, they all funnel into one account for athletics and one account for activities. So there's two separate accounts, one for athletics and one for activities. I believe they're called pay to participate or something.
So they go back to the district to offset our general expenditures related to transportation, stipends, coaching.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I think the only activity that we allow to keep, I think it's their ticket receipts, is the plays, correct?
The fall play and the spring musical, yes, but not the,
None of the other activities.
none of the, right, and none of the other organizations keep their pay to participate fees. Those go directly to the district, and then the district prepares budgets for various things, like for athletics, paid service for refs, transportation, supplies, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
If you look on page 14 of board book in the very tiny little numbers there, there is a pay to participate line item in that she gives us all those accounts. That's where it would be, right?
But it rolls up, my point was it rolls up into a general ledger account.
Right, it's
Just wanted
a
to clarify
single
that.
account as opposed to sport specific, so,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, like if basketball does not get their money back.
Right.
That's the way to ask it, yeah.
And I would also say those numbers are to date, and so, when we have a push in the spring for prom and graduation, we will collect more of that money.
They can't go if they don't pay up on their fees?
Correct.
If they're not current?
Correct,
Or
you
if
can't
they
go to
get- they
prom
get
if
a
you
fee
can't
payment,
pay.
They can get on a payment plan?
Payment plan, right.
If
They have to
parents-
make some effort by,
And graduation, the student can still participate, but they only receive one ticket.
gotcha.
Thank you. Any questions on the winter athletic summary or anything else? No? Thank you. Dr. Freitas, Brendan Curtin. Standing in. Student advisory report. What do you guys have this evening?
I would just say we're officially in fourth quarter. The days are getting nicer, more sunlight. You can imagine the effect that has on the student body. Most seniors are making their decisions for next year, whatever that looks like, getting that last bit of information, maybe meeting with a counselor to look over numbers and things like that. I would say everything's going well. Spring sports are in full swing. I, for the first time, am experiencing the bus driver shortage firsthand. It's nothing we can do to fix it, but it's definitely a frustrating thing when you have to wait until 9 p.m. to get home because you left at 6 from RB, things like that. The spring sports are going really well. I know everyone's had their first game, I believe, and a lot to look forward to.
Okay. Good luck to you and your season.
Yeah, and so recently Dr. Freitas has sent me the senior exemptions update for the semester and asked me to look over it, and that's something I just wanted to mention. Everything seems to be the same as last semester, right? And then we also talked about having a meeting for juniors to make a specific theme for the Lunch with Freitas, because we want to have a meeting for to get out that information for college so that they can start looking into what decisions they might be
looking into for their future. So we're thinking of having different student representatives show up to those meetings. People like seniors that know that they're going to a four-year university or going to military or trade or more selective school or things of that nature. So we might have student representatives going to a lunch with Freitas date sometime after spring break so that we can get that information out to the juniors. And that's something that me and Claire are going to work on to get seniors to volunteer to help run that. But other than that, I have nothing else.
Yeah, and on the
That's
meeting,
a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, on the meeting, the idea is kind of to get that advice. I have an older sibling, so I was very fortunate because I had someone who's like, oh, you need to download the Common App, you need to do this, you need to do that, and it's really hard to start when you have no older sibling or if your parents aren't knowledgeable in that field. So the idea is to, as Elena said, a 2-year university, a 4-year university, and a more selective, because I have tried to conquer the selective schools beast, and it's a whole separate thing, and I didn't really have anyone to give me that information or like to tell me where to start. So I think it's important that the kids who want to go for those more selective with lower acceptance rate have somewhere to start, as well as the kids who are looking more towards Triton or CRD, things like that.
Oh, that sounds like a lot to keep you busy.
And I just quickly wanted to add, so it's great, working with our 2 student board members. They wanted to add the theme to Lunch de Frente. Usually an open-ended forum where I get to hear what's going well, what we need to improve, and they want to be mentors to their peers, and have stories shared and guidance, right, seniors to juniors and below. So it's fantastic. I get great ideas. I get inspired from working with both of them, and as you can see, right, there's a lot of care and love for their fellow peers, and I think it's going to be great, right? You can never hear the message early enough, right, in your high school career, right, about opportunities, after high school. So.
Yeah, and it's so much different hearing it from somebody that's around your age versus somebody that's older,
And we have great guidance counselors, but then again, the people who are going through it right now, especially, it's totally a different game than it was even 2 years ago. With optional policies, you need a student to tell you that. Someone who's, okay, I'm making the decision school by school, am I submitting here? And yeah, it's a different game than it was, and it has become even more of a game. And yeah, there's no way to win, but you have to try your best.
And we thought it would be a good idea to have the different categories of different students that are going in different routes for after high school too, to make sure everybody's included from the junior class and below to find out the information for different things.
I really appreciate
Sounds
that.
Great.
This may be a good time, if it's the will of the board, if we want to talk about having, as Elena and Claire are finishing up their tenure, do we want them to do an exit survey again? I think we did this with the student representatives last year. If everyone's comfortable with that, I think we could use that same document. It would help us as we move to select and discuss student advisors for next year. So if you two would be able to find some time in your busy schedule to fill that out in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
You have 2 more months of meetings, so we'll have time.
Okay.
Just we'll make a note. We'll have Ms. Nardi get it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be good, because if it's the same one as last time, then you can compare like apples to apples, right?
Absolutely, right. I think it won't take you that long. It sounds like we're scaring
2
you
to
off.
3
It'll be
hours.
like writing one of those college essays. No,
Right, it
just
won't be like
kidding.
a selective enrollment essay.
Everybody loves a good survey.
Absolutely.
Be for yourself.
Okay. Moving on to consent agenda.
We only have one item, Ms. Towner.
The Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois takes the following action on the listed consent agenda items. Approves the student handbook for the 22-23 school year as presented in the March 22nd, 2022 board agenda packet.
Second.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to old business. Do we have anything here under
Nothing
life
on-
safety?
Nothing on life safety. District goals.
Okay.
So as you can see, we memorialized that the board approved of those 2 drafts for goal 5 and goal 2. So now we submitted a draft for the board to review on goal number 4. I did not receive any feedback from any board members on goal number 4. Again, it's a finance goal. So, I mean, one thing we need to probably, I did receive a little feedback, I believe it was from the President Zalis, about we need to, as we go through the budget process this year, maybe we make a separate spreadsheet of the programs that are directly related to students. Obviously, teachers are directly related to students and personnel. So that's that's 75 to 80% of our budget. But I was thinking, Dr. Smetana, we can flag such things as like the satchel screener, the panorama, anything related to new tech, just items that we can be able to show the board, out of our general budget, we're spending, some of our general programs. I think, I think the activities in athletics play a huge role in that. So, we could break it down, and obviously this is the first time doing this. But that was our intent, is that we would do an analysis to ensure that it's supporting student outcomes.
I would add, similar to the chart that we already have in the budget on page 6 of the budget, where we have a pie chart on expenditure analysis, just breaking down that general education component perhaps, because we already have special education, we already have athletics. So using the information that Dr. Skinka said to maybe just kind of flesh out the general education cost and highlight some of the programs associated with that.
I think that would be helpful. And I guess the reason I brought that up is, as I was looking at this, and I know the group, we've talked about them a couple times with the prior goals, is that if I'm, once we complete this exercise and develop SMART goals for each of the goals we've adopted, and we put this out there for public comment, we don't have those underlying bullet points of support that we had on one of the earlier drafts. And I think we're going to need to think about how we, draft a prelude paragraph or something to explain that these are going to be, each SMART goal will be accomplished sometime in the course of the upcoming year, and specific deliverables associated with each will be discussed at the board in some type of a calendar. Because when I'm looking at it as is, I think it misses. My first question would be, reading it, is, and then what? Like, what's the deliverable here? So I just want to think we need to be a little bit thoughtful on how this ultimately gets presented as we finish up the goal discussion. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I'm still a little uncomfortable with 2 in this way, just where, because we talked about last week where it says distribute a survey. And I know, this isn't all the deliverables, but I still feel that we're kind of missing the bigger picture here. When I look at it, I feel like maybe it's more that the board is bringing back recommendations as a result of a survey, or because that's the end goal. But just to distribute a survey for a year in communication, they can give a survey and nothing can happen of that.
Well, I think if you recall, we had a row underneath this that in some ways broke down those steps. And it talked about, preparing the survey, reviewing the survey, coming back to the board for additional direction. I'm paraphrasing here. But I think that was one of the earlier iterations. It's still the deliver. It's still the out. It's not talking about acting upon what comes back from a survey. That's my contention with the way number 2 is. All the other I'm fine, but if we're just throwing something out, there's no impetus on us working. Okay, we administered a survey, nothing's going to happen, but I feel that these goals should signify some kind of action on the board and the district. Just throwing out another survey, another question, how can we do better, isn't going to change anything, but some bringing recommendations as a result of a survey or something means that there's going to be change.
I think we could add that statement.
But I think we did talk about, first you have to do a survey.
We got to do the survey
to
before
get facts and information.
At the risk of repeating myself, we need to know what we don't know about who's getting what information appropriately and over-communicated with and under-communicated with. And we have to start by gathering that knowledge. So the goal, from my understanding, is that we just need to know what we don't know. Then we can make those action steps, which become part of the SMART goal, beyond a goal of ascertaining the information we don't currently have about who is properly informed, underinformed, and unhappily overinformed.
and I agree with that, but I feel like that can't be a 2-year process, and I feel like.
I'm not assuming that's a 2-year. I'm assuming that's our goal is to get that implemented. It does not. I mean, we should put a time frame on it, but we have to start there before we start with a goal that goes any further on a hiring recommendation, an action plan, or elsewise or otherwise. So I guess I understand what you're asking, wanting more steps, but the point that we've debated for a little while in the last discussion was that point.
But I think we're not committed to acting upon the results here according to this language. We're just committed to throwing out a survey, but we haven't committed to doing anything.
But we have, I would disagree, right? We've committed because the goal itself is researching the opportunities and methods to increase two-way engagement. So we're making this commitment as a board that we know we need to address communication. But to Ryan's point, what are the specifics of addressing that communication? We don't quite know yet. So I mean, I'm comfortable, and again, we had approved this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Miranda.
may I just, I think what we're trying to say is, we've got the SMART goals. We need process goals. And the process goals come after the SMART goals are met. And I think this is where Laura's going to this, right? Because absolutely SMART goals, you reach them, you meet them, now what?
But
now what are you gonna do with it, right? And I think that we all just need to commit to saying, yes, we have SMART goals, and then under the SMART goals are going to be the process goals. And those process goals are the bullet points that Dr. Skinkis has been that we've all been talking about. If we could just put that on the document so that our stakeholders know that the SMART goal is not the end.
The be-all, end-all.
Right, but then there's some process goals that are gonna come about and then you label it, SMART goals followed up by process goals, and I think the confusion should be eliminated.
I would only suggest we don't call them process goals because I think we're having too many goals on one page.
Well, but
process
see,
steps,
but that's
yeah.
the problem with
Yeah.
SMART goals,
Yeah.
is what Laura's saying. You get a SMART goal, you reach it, but now what? Now what are you gonna do? The whole thing with process goals is they're continuous improvement goals, right? And that's unfortunately, call them what you want, but that's, I think, we need to differentiate between the two, and we just need to.
Well, would you be
move it on.
willing to draft an intro paragraph to this so that I feel like we have rehashed this now a couple of times and you seem to have a
So I'm going back
I think you're
somewhat
capturing
to the.
people's
Well,
comments.
no, and I'm saying
Yeah.
this, I'm not even accepting, this is not the SMART goal that I can accept. I think this is weak. I think this is a half a goal.
We already accepted this
The
one.
board accepted.
Well,
it.
that, the way we, well, when we accepted it, yes, we're gonna do a survey and collect all these things, and then we shrunk it down to this. I'm saying this is a half a goal. Just to throw out a survey is a half, we're
Well-
phrasing it as a half.
I think we
It's
need
not
to-
a full goal.
All right, we need to think about this though for a second, because originally we had talked about a communications person. Then the board backpedaled and said, well,
Right.
before you can hire a communications person, we need to know what
How
we
we're
don't know.
communicating.
Right?
Right.
So, let's just talk about this this survey will most likely be written, hopefully sometime this summer. While the administration takes their vacation, we prepare for the opening of school.
Right?
This survey won't be administered till at least the fall.
Right?
Because you want to have students back in school, parents back checking their email when you're going to issue this.
Right?
Then you're going to get those results, you're going to break that. We're hoping to have some type of breakdown to you before the end of first semester, before Thanksgiving. So after that, that's when we would then say, okay, based on these results, increase our social media presence, maybe. Hire a communications person, maybe. Right? So we don't know yet until we break down those results.
So that's the goal. The goal is getting that conversation that the administrator brings to us. The survey is part of the process. Collecting the results is part of the process. Having meetings with all the stakeholders is part of the process. Meeting with your staff is part of the process. These are all little pieces, but the end and all is when you come back to the board and say, this is what we've learned, who's getting information, how they're getting information, and this is our recommendation to you. So bringing the recommendation back, that is the real goal. That the administration is going to bring a recommendation back for communication. How are you going to do it?
It says that. It
It's
says
all that. No, it just says you're going to administer a survey.
No, and then read the last sentence there.
That's what we added.
Right, we added that piece to identify areas of strength and improvements. That was, I think that was what we ended
That's
up.
what we added last, from when
after we went round and round, right?
So I'm assuming goal 4 is what we were supposed to talk about tonight. That's why that's on there now, which was the finance part.
And there were no questions on that, right?
There was nothing submitted on 4. If that's the case, then Dr. Freitas is gonna be leading us with goal number 3. Him and his team will help me draft something up for the April 12th meeting. I'm trying to do one a meeting unless there's a lot of feedback, then I go back and make revisions. And we have to have this, we should have this done before July 1st.
Correct. And we seem to be on track for that. I mean, I think we're somewhat repeating ourselves, but at the same time, I think it helps everyone understand where everyone's coming from. And we'll have a chance to look at them all one final time before we do present them to stakeholders.
Right. And I think, just a reminder too, and again, these are our, like, the top part is what we said we wanted from December, but we also agreed that when Lori was here, that Kevin gets to do the doing on the bottom part, like, right? We can't insert ourselves too much in the second part. That's for him and his staff to do the doing.
So does the doing, or the Kevin part, or the administrative part, was the part we took off. Now I'm putting that part back on, but we're renaming it?
I don't know, I don't think you should do that until you finish the 4. That wouldn't be my,
Okay. But I'm saying,
But
I
I'm
think,
only one of
so the
7.
concern that I received from one of the board members was, once we get to a point in May or end of April where the bottom has all these drafts that are somewhat board, not approved, but like.
There's a general consensus.
The general draft is done. The next step was we were gonna post these, to send them out to the stakeholder group, post it online for feedback.
I think before you send out for feedback, you might do as Lorena and.
Put the action steps back on there, or
Put what
whatever.
are some of the deliverables. You might not have an exhaustive list, but you certainly would probably want to include some of your deliverables before you get feedback, because that will be your feedback.
Okay.
So, Dr. Smetana, that would be kind of like what we saw in the first draft that you two put together. So we'll go back to something along that form to have a longer picture of what we were trying to keep condensed.
So what I took
It
off.
wouldn't be all of those, it'd be just a few of them.
But what I took off, I'm
It's
putting.
a work in progress, right? It's a work in progress list. It's
It'd
not
be
gonna
the key
good at this.
deliverables.
Okay. Well, how about if I do have any questions, I could always send it to Laura or Lorena for feedback as like an advisory.
I am fine with that.
We can do
Well,
that, we can do that once we get to once we get the first somewhat finalized drafts of the first 5, before we send it out to the community, I could send it to the advisory group to help us look at it. Would that be all right for the board?
I would agree.
I would be comfortable with that, thank you.
Okay.
Assuming Lorena and Laura both agree.
Yes.
You've been voluntold, lady.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. Is there anything, I don't believe, but is there anything specific to that goal number 4 for us to discuss further this evening?
So I'm putting a red stamp on 4, and I'm going on to number 3 or number 1.
I believe that seems to be the will of the board. Any objections? Hearing none?
Okay? I
Thank
would
you.
like to save 1 for the end, because I think being able to either, whether it's with our instructional coaches or with the communications group of the RBEA, but getting some teacher input on goal number 1 would also be helpful.
Agreed, thank you.
Probably 1 and 3, actually.
Well, and I would assume that, obviously, one of our stakeholders is RBEA, and I would hope that they would provide feedback there, the way they did on the underlying goal document, too.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can move on to new business, which is policy 2:40.
Policy 2:40, there was 2 comments submitted. Mr. Welsh just wanted to clarify that we do not call them executive sessions, we call them closed sessions. So that was one thing, does the board want that changed?
I mean, throughout the policy, do we call it executive session? So my suggestion was to put in parentheses closed.
No, I thought that made sense, you're right, because we use closed.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Anybody else on the board have a concern with that? And then Mr. Ruska had submitted, should we clarify that we're looking for an upperclassman?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Because we have 2 seniors, right? And as we saw today, the seniors are very specific with arranging the lunches with Dr. Freitas about helping other students mentor them into getting into college and everything. And the seniors have a lot of experience, whether it's a senior or upperclassman. Would we ever say a freshman could be, or a sophomore? Would we ever see that a sophomore might be a member on here? Or is...
Right now, it only goes out
It
to
says
juniors.
seniors only, right? Yeah, there would be, interviews are for juniors only to be seniors. I am interested in that conversation, but I don't know where the initial conversation came. So I just read it as it's only open to juniors for.
The idea was that it was most schools follow that it's an upperclassman so that they have 2 or 3 years on campus and
Right.
some history to bring to the board.
How do
I
you
feel
guys
like
feel
we should
about
say
it?
upperclassmen.
Let me ask Elena and Claire.
I think saying it's interview junior year into senior is, I don't know much about policy, but that doesn't seem like a huge addition. But if that's what you're looking for, I think laying that out so then students just explicitly, is there like a problem in adding that?
No,
No.
I think Ms. Zalis' question was, do the two of you believe it should be,
If you had a sophomore sitting next to you, how would you feel right now?
or should it be
I
someone
just don't
that's
think
in
they
their
know
senior
enough.
I agree. I think it should be 2 seniors with the experience that they've had the past 3 years of high school, and then especially like what she just with Ms. Fresca just said about like us wanting to mentor the underclassmen about college and about their future and stuff like that. I think that's really important.
So the recommendation reads more like the board may, we always put may in there because that we're not required if something changes. Board may annually select 1 to 2 upper class
Well, rising seniors.
rising seniors.
Do we call them rising seniors? I
You
think
don't
that's-
really, do we use that term a lot, Dr. Freitas, rising seniors? Doesn't seem like.
No, I don't think we should say rising seniors, because sometimes that has a different term. Like we have rising first graders.
We're trying to go gender neutral in our policy, so I gotta see if upperclassmen or, maybe I'll just put in parentheses,
Future seniors?
or seniors.
Incoming
Seniors.
seniors?
Incoming
Maybe I'll just-
seniors.
Yes.
Incoming, yeah.
I'll figure that.
Okay.
Seniors.
Because Kylie does use, when she talks about like summer school and stuff like that, she does use the term rising.
Rising is the
I thought
appropriate.
that was an
Yeah.
acceptable term, yeah. But if it's not, I think,
I get where
Swap it
I
out.
get what the board wants. I will
Work on
update
it.
this accordingly.
and this is, we are not adopting this today,
No, we are
correct?
not.
So that's,
So I got 2
So you-
changes. Closed session will be added in parentheses, and then either putting upperclassmen, rising seniors, but something to confirm what we're looking for. That's it.
okay. Did you guys have any additional comments on that? Okay. You're the last pilot class, and this will be the permanent class. Right.
Or it may be permanent.
Okay. We don't have any visitor statements this evening. We did not have any additional discussion items. Any consideration of items for future meetings from anyone?
Can I backtrack and just make a 30-second discussion point because of our meeting? Today, when the Student Association spoke to us, they had a plethora of amazing things that they were doing in the community, not only in the school, but in the community. And even, and then Dr. Smetana, in this meeting alone, got the grant. And I keep thinking, in the landmark, we should be seeing 1 grant, we got the grant. These are big headlines. When we keep talking about communication, do you remember when people were running for the board, like, I don't know what's happening in the school, and yet what the Student Association is doing, they're at the Ronald McDonald House, they're, the blood drive, the going to the different shelters. I mean, this is amazing work. Is it getting out? Is this message getting out beyond somebody who has access to the electronic? Is it in the community?
I think we need
I
a
think
survey.
that's what the survey is going to tell us.
But so.
Because right now, we are using all electronic.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff the Student Association talks about, they have a Twitter page, an Instagram page. That's all out there electronically. It's on our website.
So just collecting these events is incredible work that's being done by our student body.
No, I agree, and I do think the survey will be an important tool for that, because we absolutely have talked about this before, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but yeah, I agree.
Right?
It's
like, wow.
Any other consideration of items?
Go to. having the.
Matters for.
We ready?
Yes,
Ready?
matters for closed session, please.
Unless we do it
Ms.
to the same
Towner.
body who's getting this information.
The Board of Education Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois enters closed session for the purpose of considering appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, student discipline, purchase, sale, or lease of real property, probable, imminent, or pending litigation, collective negotiations, and school safety.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Welch. Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Gasko?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Ms. Towner?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Ms. Salas?
Yes. Okay. 8:06.